I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
السيد الرئيس.
President, as a member state, indeed a founding member state of the United Nations, Syria would like to voice its own opinion on this agenda item and indeed on the draft resolution submitted to the General Assembly for its consideration in document A/72/L10, a draft resolution entitled Cooperation between the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. First and foremost, we would like to remind the distinguished representatives of the member states that the Syrian Arab Republic is also a founding member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC. The OIC was established in 1969 as a direct response to a terrorist attack, an extremist terrorist attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which was an attack of arson on said mosque. It is for this reason that from the very outset the OIC has been attached to the defense of Jerusalem and of Palestine. We believe that these two instances, Jerusalem and Palestine, can be seen as the voice of the Islamic community of the world. We have always sought friendly relations with the majority of member states in the OIC. We also are very grateful for the support provided by many governments and peoples of the OIC to Syria in the context of the current war against terrorism that we are fighting, a war that was imposed upon us. Nonetheless, it does seem that there are strange practices that run counter to the Charter of the OIC itself, and which also violate the Charter of the United Nations as well. It is for that reason that we believe it's necessary to reassess the role and the activities of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation at this juncture. It's an open secret that many members of the OIC are voicing their disagreement and discontent in light of undemocratic practices in that organization which do not respect the collective methods of work. And all this because the host state of the OIC continues to impose its point of view and its will upon the other members of the organization. Against that backdrop and in that reality, an illegal resolution was adopted to suspend the Syrian Arab Republic's membership within the OIC. Said illegal resolution took place during an extraordinary meeting that was held in Saudi Arabia. The host state exercised pressure on other members of the OIC, political and financial pressure, in order to push them to adopt said illegal resolution suspending Syria. They did so through force and without any respect for the acknowledged practices and the traditional practices and working methods within the OIC. I would like to recall that the presidency of that organization in April of 2017 issued a communique. In said communique, they welcomed the military aggression pursued by the United States of America against Syria. We received from 15 member states of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, or OIC, information according to which the presidency of the OIC made that statement in April 2017 without prior consultation with the member states of the OIC. And they made that statement, although many member states had already expressed their disagreement with the content of said communique and with making such declaration. This is a lack of respect for the ethics and for good moral standing. Exercising such pressure and bringing about such outcomes is unacceptable for the presidency of an organization of this magnitude. How, in a political declaration, is it possible to welcome military aggression against a founding member of the OIC? For several years, my country has suffered and continues to suffer the fallout of a terrorist war. It has been 7 years now that we have been waging this fight against terrorism, and certain member states of the OIC have been directly involved and implicated in said war against terrorism. They have financed and armed terrorist groups fighting on Syrian territory, and they have also facilitated the passage of tens of thousands of foreign terrorist fighters joining the terrorist war in Syria, as well as in Iraq. The host state of the OIC is one of the leading financiers of terrorism in Syria. Certain other governments, but also the Saudi state, bear the chief responsibility today for the several extremist and terrorist violent activities around the world, not just in Syria. It is this state which fuels the extremist Wahhabite line of thought. It is that state which creates and finances religious centers around the world which support this extremist point of view or this extremist theology, and they work to disseminate that extremist Wahhabite theology amongst young people in many places around the world. That is a direct threat to international peace and security, and also undermines the image of Muslims around the world. It also runs directly counter to the OIC's mandate or stated mandate of promoting peace, dialogue and tolerance between religions and civilizations. The government of the host state is also responsible today through what is called the Arab Coalition. The host state is directly responsible for an unparalleled humanitarian tragedy which has led to massacres and to famine faced by hundreds of thousands of innocent people in Yemen. The war in Yemen, which often goes overlooked, has led to the appearance of cholera and other scourges in Yemen. It has rocked Yemen, a country which is now teetering on the edge. Moreover, the host state of the OIC is also responsible in today's world for several wars and conflicts prosecuted on a religious basis, which threatens to rend asunder the very unity of Muslims. We know that they are prosecuting these wars through selfish and destructive political purposes, which have transformed the region of the Middle East into a theatre of war and conflagration. Saudi Arabia is not innocent. Quite the contrary. Saudi Arabia has chosen to set aside the objectives and principles of the OIC and to push and cajole many Islamic and Arab states to also set aside the cause of Jerusalem and Palestine, and thus to thumb their noses at the needs and cause of millions of displaced Palestinians and Syrians who are suffering from the Israeli occupation. We are at a critical juncture, historical turning point. The American administration seems to have the intention of moving its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This is a decision that we denounce and that we reject. This is a unilateral decision without any legal backing thereto. There is no legality to that intended move of the US Embassy to Jerusalem, because we know that the Palestinian people have a historic right to make Jerusalem their capital and to live in Jerusalem as the capital of the Palestinian state. What is the OIC doing today on behalf of Jerusalem? What is the OIC doing today in response to these serious threats to Jerusalem, to its status, to this holy city? Such a decision by the President of the United States of America concerning Jerusalem reflects the belief that it is possible to ignore the collective voice and conscience of Muslims and Arabs. He is capable of bargaining and negotiating, which has led to a lack of respect for the rights of Palestinians and for Arabs writ largely. We're talking here about inalienable rights that cannot be bartered away. We bear a historic responsibility today as an Islamic state and as a state at the heart of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation to withstand and push back against this stated intention. Finally, President, the position of the Syrian Arab Republic today, as pertains the draft resolution entitled Cooperation between the United Nations and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, A72L10, is based on the rights of Christian and Muslim Palestinians to be upheld and defended. We promote the rights of these people and promote the rights and status of the city of Jerusalem. We want to preserve and uphold the rights of all of these Palestinian people without any distinction. We want to make sure that the Islamic religion is innocent. It cannot be associated or stereotyped in this way as being linked to terrorism. We need to preserve and uphold democratic standards. We need to preserve and uphold transparency and equality between member states in terms of the rule of law, and ensure that we uphold the principle that all members of the OIC are equal. It's for that reason that we demand an official vote on the draft resolution A/72/L10. Thank you very much, President.
I thank the distinguished representative of the Syrian Arab Republic